Yo, what's up, Face Off Battle League? I'm going to give my recap of the recent event that happened this past Saturday at City of Gods. It was August 23rd. The first battle that we had. All right, so just to recap real quick, some of you know, Proof vs. Heartless Paperman got changed. Monkey Man went up against Heartless Paperman. The reason I need to think about the order is because I'm looking at the flyer and it didn't go in that order. The first battle was Kizzy versus Flo Leads. This was the first time a lot of us had seen Flo Leads. I don't know if anyone had seen him before. It was the first time I had seen him. And off the bat, from the coin toss, Flo Leads went first, I believe, and came out in his first round. Was really the reason I want to go a little bit in depth here is because there's been some people who've been really unsure about how these close battles. The three ranked battles were all very close. So I just wanted to give you a specific how it went down, how the audience felt, and and that might help a little bit because a lot of people have been asking, how did that battle really go? Did so-and-so really 2-0 the other person? Was this the right decision? And I'll say this. Flo Leads came out in the first round, and he had some really complex rhyming. As a matter of fact, all of his rhyming was extremely complex. His stuff was really hard to follow. He talked really fast. In his first round, he was really timid, extremely timid, and I think that played a factor in why I think Kizzy won the first round. Kizzy came out really strong in the first round and just real aggressive. And then, a lot of fire in the beginning. He had some really good references, some good bars, and most people gave Kizzy the first round. So second round, Flo Leads came out much more aggressive. He got comfortable. People were responding to the battle. People were happy after the first round, after both people went, and he came out and his voice was a lot deeper and more secure. You got this weird feeling of Flo Leads, he was almost a little insecure and nervous and real shy. And he came out in the second round with a lot more confidence. And Kizzy was kind of like his first round. Not quite as polished, not quite as smooth. He probably had to think a couple times, of what was coming, but he didn't choke. And Flo Leads came a lot harder than his first round, and took that round. In most people's opinion. Now, I remember being in the audience, and I remember this because specifically, Codes was I think Flo had the first round and Kizzy took the second, and I don't know if he watched it as close or if he was the only one who thought that, but then everyone else around said that they had Flo second round, Kizzy round one. I'm talking 5 or 6 people said their opinion. So me plus 5 or 6 other people, and a lot of people have given the review, have said Flo round 2, Kizzy round 1. I didn't hear a single person say they thought Kizzy won it in 2 after the battle had ended. The only person who said that aftermath that I know of was Alan, Purely Deaf. But he didn't say it then to me, but I'm sure he thought that. But nobody else said it in the audience. It was very, very, it was very good for that battle to go to OT. Because whether or not 1 or 2 people thought Kizzy won or had the rounds flipped, Alan's the only one that said that they thought Kizzy won specifically. As a matter of fact, I thought there was a chance Flo Leads would have won just because I know for sure, in my opinion, he won the second round. The first round I thought Kizzy won, but sometimes the judges only remember what they just saw. So if you kill somebody in the second round, they kind of forget that the first round was close. That is potentially what happened in Luwak versus SK, but we'll get to that. So, goes into OT. Kizzy, Flo Leads goes second in OT. Kizzy goes first. Kizzy doesn't completely choke, not really at all, but he thinks a couple times, slips up a little bit towards the end, or slips up a little bit, maybe in the middle, and you could tell he was just throwing random bars together towards the end. And he said something at the end that was kind of ridiculous. I think he rhymed something with alligator or something like that, and like it didn't make sense. Maybe he was freestyling and he laughed about it, and everyone in the audience did. So that was by far his worst round. However, Flo came in and had his worst round too. Towards the end, he was slipping up. His last verse didn't rhyme, or like his last few bars didn't rhyme. I think he messed something up. He ended kind of flat, and but he was a little bit more polished and smooth than Kizzy in the final round, and for a while his stuff was going pretty well in the OT. They gave it to Flo. OT was close. I'm not going to say specifically what I thought maybe Flo had it. I wasn't shocked when he had it, because Kizzy straight up slipped up worse, and that's always been a factor. If you look back at the Purely Deaf Codes, the official battle, a lot of people think the slip-ups, the minor slip-ups, are what hurt Alan. A lot of people think the same thing about his battle, Purely Deaf against Jay Clappa. So it's very important not to slip up. If your opponent gives a round without really slipping up completely, and you slip up or you slip up worse, a lot of times you lose that round. That seems to be really big in this league. So I wanted to go pretty in depth with that battle, so people who were kind of confused, who didn't see it, got to really understand what happened in that battle. I will say this, my review of each person. Kizzy's rounds, it seemed like he ordered them from his most comfortable, strongest stuff first, and then slowly got to his worst, slightly more generic, slightly less polished, slightly less memorized bars. And it really was apparent by the third round, but his first round was better than the second round, so it got progressively downhill. Flo had much more consistent material, but he performed them inconsistently, in the fact that his second round he had a stronger performance than his first round, and his third round he wound up slipping up a little bit, and I think he messed up his, slipped up memorization wise. So obviously your OT round's probably going to be your worst round or your least comfortable round, unless it's stuff that you've memorized for a previous OT, like generic stuff. But the other thing I will say about Flo is that I love like really intricate rhyme schemes. Like I listen to stuff like my favorite like writers and stuff are usually just the more rhymes, typically the better. I enjoy MF Doom, stuff like that. That's like a lot of people find clunky or hard to follow. So when I was watching when I watched Flow Leads, I enjoyed that. But I will say this: if you don't articulate it really well and it's not extremely sensical and coherent, it's very hard for me to grasp it in one listen. I compare rap battling to like slam poetry, and I have a history in slam poetry. That's what got me started before comedy in like performance and competition. So the biggest thing with slam poetry compared to poetry was like written poetry is that they don't have the ability to hear it again or slowly read it, or the rate at which you speak it, and the difficulty of grasping it in one listen, or one, being able to hear it one time, is very detrimental to how well the piece does. So if I wrote a slam poem, I would need to keep in mind they're only able to hear it one time. They can't back it up. They can't pause to think. They can't take a break. They can't reread a line. Nothing. Same thing goes with a rap battle. You need to make sure we understand what you're saying and are able to follow you well. I find that a lot of people have really stuff. For me, it is hard to follow, and I kind of lose what they're saying, and then I rewatch it and in a video, and I'm like, it's good. But in a battle like that's live and for an audience, you need to remember they need to hear you. They need to understand you. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of distractions in the room. You need to almost dumb it down a little bit. So raps can be raps for recording can be a little bit more difficult. You get stuff like LP, A$AP Rock, all those people. I know a lot of people think A$AP Rock is just straight abstract, and I'm not a huge fan anymore myself. But you get stuff like that can work on an MP3 and can work on an album, and you can re-listen to it. I'm not saying preferences whether you like it, but it clearly works because that shit's popular. But we all know if you came into a battle with stuff like that, it would not go over well. Same thing, slam poetry to poetry. Written poetry, you can make stuff that every time you read it, you kind of have to dissect it, take your time with it. You can't do that in rap battle. They need to understand your 90 seconds in 90 seconds live, real time. Okay, that being said, I promise I'm going to speed up a little bit from here out. because there's a lot in there that I want to say. Oh, another thing real quick about flow leads. I've never been a big fan of talking about yourself a lot in rap battles. Maybe it's just because I haven't been familiar with it. I haven't done it. I haven't seen it as much. I don't know if it's just me, but he had a lot of stuff where he talked about himself. He did his own stuff about his name. It was cool in the beginning when he did it about Kizzy's name, about how Kizzy's name was whack and then how he had his own name. But later he was really talking about himself for a while and talking about how he was half Latino. He had his own bio in one of his rounds. To me, that's not really rap battle. He had a bio about how he's Latino, blah blah blah. Called himself I don't want to say, I forget what the hell he called himself. I'm gonna say the wrong slur or something. I'm gonna say something wrong. But he had a long period of time where he talked about his history almost, and it was kind of weird. I'm like, dude, you only have 90 seconds to dish your opponent. And you're spending all this time talking about yourself. That being said, parts of what Flow Leads did was my favorite of the night. Parts of his bars were some of my favorites. But moving on, the next battle that happened, I believe, was Monkey Man versus Heartless Paperman. Heartless Paperman took this battle on short notice, and everyone gave him a lot of props for taking it on short notice. However, he even said himself, I think these were bars that he picked out that were not written specifically for proof. So that was cool. It was a 1 round, but I don't think it was 3 minutes. I think they just did 90 seconds. So it went from a 1 round 3 minute promo to a 1 round 90 seconds. So I think it was stuff he had already planned for proof, maybe one other verse or something, but I think it was pretty much just that. That's the way he made it seem too. Great performance. Monkey Man was entertaining. People took to him. It was not much different than what he's done in the past. He had a couple normal verses like he always does. He had his antics. He did the monkey dance. He did all of the normal stuff that Monkey Man does. Do you know what was different about this performance in the Mike Main? Was the aura in the room and the energy in the room and the acceptance of his style in the room. He has a very polarizing style. It's if you're I use analogies that relate to me, so if you don't get it, I'm sorry, but if you're a one-liner comic, it's very different. You could go up in a specific room and they don't like it, that alternative style as opposed to just being a observationist or storyteller. So when you have that one-liner style, you can go to a room that loves it, an alternative room, and they eat you up and they laugh like crazy. And then you go to another room where they don't like it. They don't get it. They don't like puns. They don't like little short reversals, all that kind of stuff. Hate you. Monkey Man is an alternative rap battler. If he I use the term rap battler loosely. He is up there performing. It's a performance art. It's an entertainment factor. He is an entertainer. I'm not so sure he's quite a rap battler at all the times. I don't know if rap battle is the best platform for him to be doing his thing. And sometimes I do think he needs to include real bars like he does in most of his rounds. The third round Mike Main, stuff like that. I get it, it's OT, maybe you didn't plan that much stuff, but I think for him to keep the respect, he needs to have a good blend. This is my dynamic. I have goofy songs, I do a couple gags, everything that's different, because you can't just keep doing your intro song and your monkey dance every time. And I'm going to spit some real verses that hit hard, and I'm going to be respectful to my opponent, shake his hand, offer him to dance, do something weird with my opponent. Those need to be staples in every round, in my opinion, for him to garnish any sort of real fans and more general, popularity, as opposed to being kind of hated on as equally as he is liked. So that's my opinion on that. Heartless Paperman had some real good bars. He was good. He had a cool swagger about him, and he was very respectful. And him and Monkey Man had a great battle. It was a great energy, a great vibe, and we all had a lot of fun watching it. None of it took it too serious. Nobody was too tough to enjoy it, and that was what's cool. Nobody had a chip on their shoulder about it. Everybody enjoyed it. Everybody laughed and let themselves loose. I think also part of that is being a promo versus a battle, and a last second thing with Monkey Man. If he's in a real battle, some people might take more offense to his style than if he's just in a promo. All right, moving on. That's just a promo. I want to spend a little bit more time about the real battles because that's where the most questions are. Luop versus SK. That was the next battle. I believe, I could be wrong, I believe Luop went first. I could be wrong. I know he went first in OT, but it wasn't a real OT, so maybe they didn't switch the order. So I think he went first. But regardless, Luop first round, SK first round. Luop had some weird intro where he like rhymed bars in the intro, like when he was saying his name, that was not, whatever he said was not good to me. I didn't like it. But then he shocked me. And this guy's been around, he's a vet, and I'm just the ignorant one for not knowing him. Same thing goes with Heartless Paperman. It's my bad for not knowing. That guy's like a legit guy. I just didn't know him. Luop came out in the first round like a monster. Was great stuff. SK also was really good. The big difference was in the first round is SK might have been a little bit better on pen. Luop probably had more presence and outperformed Meher. I don't want to say that SK's voice isn't... I'm not saying that he doesn't project enough, but his voice does not have a real deep, full tone to it. So it's hard for him. Like, he might be a type of guy who's never going to be able to come hard. Like, I compared it to Naps. Like, Naps clearly has a really deep, rich tone to his voice. If that guy needed to project and yell, he could. I don't think SK has the ability to project much. Like, I don't think he has like a soft voice in general. I don't mean any disrespect. That's what it is. So I think he's going to have trouble getting a ton more energy than he already does. I'm not saying his energy is lacking, but his presence, his vocal presence is not there. Energy is there, vocal presence is not there. I mean, he always has a smooth, laid-back style, but it's energetic enough. Vocal presence, not really. However, dope as shit. First round, toss-up. Coin flip. I don't think, if you would have polled everyone in the audience, they would have been 50-50 on it. Second round, SK, hands down. Luop, I think, like slipped up a little bit, but clearly everybody in the room thought SK won the second round. Then they went to the judges. Somebody was like, I think the first round was a draw. Second round, I gave to SK, so I guess that means SK wins the battle. Somebody, I think, had it first round Luop, second round SK, and then somebody had SK winning. So it was 2-1, I think, 2-1 SK to Luop. But regardless, SK won the battle. They were like, we both planned OT rounds. Here's the thing. Luop was like, you guys watch the footage, you watch the footage and you see who won. Regardless, that the OT round that would have been the OT, SK buried him. That was a bagging. Luop didn't even finish his OT. He like choked that hard. That's just what happens. That's what happened there. No disrespect. That's just calling it out. That's truth. SK, smooth as shit. Just absolutely comfortable, confident. Clearly his most prepared battle. Went super smooth. That third round promo OT was just... it was if you needed anything more to realize SK or any more assurance that SK won that battle, that is it. Then Luop goes on camera and was like, I think I won. You watch the footage, I won. Well, it's like, okay, what do you think you won? Round 2? Do you think it should have gone to OT? Is that what you mean to say? Or do you honestly think, what do you think you won? Round 1? Not round 2. You think you won round 1 and it should go to OT? Or do you honestly think you should win that battle? Because anybody who watches that footage is going to think SK won round 2 and at the very least it should go to OT. Nobody is going to think Luop won that battle. That is a fact. Watch it. When it comes out, I know I'm going to be right. The OT round, no questions asked SK. So if it did go to OT, regardless, Luop, you're going to get the same amount of points either way, which is -1. SK might have got 1 point instead of 2 points, but that's it. That's the facts. Look, that's how the battle went. I think it should have went to OT because I think first round, maybe Luop. If I had to pick, I would have gone slightly in the favor of Luop first round, definitely in the favor of SK second round. Called for OT, given it to SK. I think a lot of people agreed with me. Some people think it didn't need to go to OT, and SK won. Nobody thought Luop won except for himself. Moving on. My battle is next. Me versus Wiles. I had planned, my entire first round that I had planned was Chris Swag. I was going to be going last in the battle after Chris Swag because they already have a predetermined order. So Chris Swag would have just gotten done spitting, and I was going to go up and just destroy, but try to destroy Chris Swag. And then at the way end, I had a verse plan that was like, write this down, yada yada. Wiles, you're next, kind of thing, like calling Wiles out at the first end of the first round. So I had that whole plan thing, and then like 5 days in advance, we find out, Chris Swag can't make it there. So I was like, you know what? I didn't know if we were going to have somebody stand there and I was going to spit stuff too, but I couldn't. I was already